clock's fast. We can never tell what's going on here. A couple seconds, a few seconds.
Smart ass.
7?
Done.
It's 7. You ready, Letty?
Yes, go.
Good evening. I would like to call to order the Board of Supervisors for the town of Sevastopol on Monday, June 19th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Seems to me that a roll call to establish a quorum would be in order.
Supervisor Linda Waite.
Here.
Supervisor Mark Hain.
Here.
Chairman Dan Wolfel.
Here.
Supervisor Jeannie Vogel.
Here.
Supervisor Derek Daniel.
Here. All right, everyone's home and here. Great. Meet and greet. Let's change it up tonight. Let's start with the videographers. That would be, uh-oh. See what happens when we startle them?
Larry Chapman, Sevastopol.
All right, from there, we'll start with you then.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Zettel, District 14 Supervisor, 3986 Glidden Drive.
All right.
Dale Vogel, Sevastopol.
Dan Porter, Sevastopol.
Neil?
Neil Zachariason, 4471 Glidden Drive.
Craig Nellis, Sevastopol.
Carrie Nellis, Sevastopol.
I'm anonymous.
In that case, since I can't see you, you will not be here.
That's
All right.
Mask. COVID.
All right, public participation non-agenda items. Anyone having something they would like to talk about for a moment or two? Yes, sir? I have no idea who you are.
Well, that's okay, because from what I understand, anonymous submissions are accepted in this realm. So
I take it that you're Mr. Reary?
I take it that I'm known by many names. Nuisance is one of them.
No, that, the shoe fits, wear it, but go
I guess
ahead.
so, likewise, takes one to know one, right? So I was wondering if there's an ordinance against people submitting anonymous complaints. Do you enforce on anonymous complaints?
Can't answer that question. Next. That's it? All right, thank you. Motion, we need to adopt the agenda.
The agenda was properly noticed.
All right, motion to adopt.
I'll move to adopt the agenda as noticed.
All right.
Second.
Second. Motion by Linda, second by Jean. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to adopt is passed. Approval of the minutes from the Board of Supervisors meeting from May 15th. Also the initial Board of Review minutes and the road tour minutes. That's all in your packet. The Board of Review was from May 15th. The road tour was on Friday, May 19th. Motion to approve and put those on file would be appropriate.
I'll make a motion to approve all 3 board minutes from me.
Motion by Derek, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Pending business, audio visual update. I don't know who's got that. If Jeannie does?
Well, I think
Laddie does?
Laddie wants to speak to it. The
Okay.
committee met, so go ahead, Laddie.
Okay.
Everybody over there should have a copy of the upgrade proposal that I gave to everyone on the committee last week. And I could explain anything on there. I can try to, because some of you haven't heard me. Do you want me to, Ginny, you want me to summarize it, or what should I say?
I think it's being that the committee already has addressed this, I think you maybe just focus in on where we're probably going to go with it, at least preliminary. It looks like where we're going to go, like at least interview Phil
All right.
Hendrickson, which is the lowest bidder, if you will, Rita.
I'm sorry, what, Glass?
Phil,
Yes, Phil.
Yeah,
The quote that Phil Hendrickson gave was the ones the committee seemed to like the best, but they had several questions about the itemization on the quote, and I had some questions too. So I spoke to Phil today, and he didn't really answer my questions, but he did say he would be able to come and speak to the committee on the 28th, which I believe is one of the next meetings, next Wednesday.
week from Wednesday.
And he will try to answer questions there. That's about all I really know about that. Except that we'll probably, whatever we do, will be filtered through whatever he tells us if we decide to use his quote.
To look at, and when we looked at the number of quotes, there seemed to be a lot of extra, maybe equipment that might not be necessary. Phil seemed to keep it down to a more minimum amount.
Well, that's what we'd like to do.
Right.
The quotes varied from $7,000 to $20,000. The more elaborate ones, I'm sure would have more, they do have more equipment, and they might do a better job. The question is whether we want to pay that kind of money for that possibly slight improvement.
Well, being that we have 13,000 with a little more in the budget, probably not.
Okay.
So,
Can I answer anybody else's questions as far as I know? Because,
Is there, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is the first time I'm seeing this tonight, so I haven't really had a chance to go through it, other than the first couple pages, and of course, the numbers are jumping out at me. So I do have a couple questions. Phil Hendrickson, is he local? Where is he from, Laddie?
Phil is based in Michigan area.
Okay.
Quantum, of course, is Sturgeon Bay.
Yep, local.
And the other company, Arrow,
Arrow.
is Appleton area.
Okay. Okay, and you, like you said, we've got quite a range here from 7,000 up to 20,000.
Yes.
So in layman's language, can you tell me why one quote is so much higher and why that would be beneficial to spend that much money?
Well, the highest price quote would involve replacing more equipment in this room and adding more things that could be useful. I feel that all the quotes would provide an adequate upgrade for us, but the quantum quote, which is the most elaborate, would probably be the best choice if price were no object. For example, the lower quote, I believe, used the same speakers here and the same microphones, and the other quote said those are substandard. If we replace both, it would improve the sound considerably. However, the Phil Hendrickson quote does include new mixer and amplifier, and that would also improve our sound quality in some ways that we cannot do now. In fact, the one on the Phil has an equalizer as part of his proposal, and what that does is it divides the entire frequency spectrum into bands, and you listen to the person installing this will listen to the room and decide which bands are accidentally emphasized and which ones are accidentally attenuated due to the acoustics of the room. No room is perfect. And then the acoustics would be adjusted to make it easier for people to hear and sound better overall.
And under the quantum quote, they say microphones with XLR connections.
Yes,
What
that's
is
just
that?
a plug. Right now we have microphones that are hardwired into the mixer, and that makes it nearly impossible to replace one with another without serious rewiring it. The XLR are the standard connectors for most professional microphones these days. And if we had to swap a microphone or we had to plug something into the new system, it would be a lot easier just to be able to plug it rather than having to wire it and solder it and cut the wires and all that stuff. All the proposals would allow for us to add microphones if we wanted either fixed or wireless. It would also allow for anybody that was using this room to bring in some kind of a sound equipment like an iPad or an iPhone and plug it directly into our PA system, be able to hear it out of the speakers. This could be nice for people who use the room. Right now, we have no way, well, we have a way of doing it, but it involves calling me and I have to rig up something. But it would be relatively simple. And these all proposals include either they include an iPad or we'd have to buy one to control things, because an iPad would allow me to sit over here and control each individual microphone. If I felt that someone was not speaking loud enough or too loud, I could individually adjust it as needed. And the same thing goes for someone in the audience. See, these are somewhat fixed. I can speak louder, but if I wanted to make someone sound a little louder, I'd have to come up there and tweak something at Amy's knees, and I don't think she wants that. Anyway, the new systems would involve using an iPad to control each individual mic as well as the overall level.
I just want to also interject on the quantum quote, the one thing that was not actually listed on there. The idea that we brought to them, we wanted an iPad wireless way of doing it. They do not have an option for wireless for an iPad. They actually want to create a touch panel built into the wall. So to me, for being way too overly priced for a lot of stuff, they're not actually matching what we really need, as well as some of the things that they want us to redo is our networking. Why do we need networking redone? It makes no sense. I honestly wish we could get more explanation from them why they want redundant or stuff that we're really not asking for, except for selling things to us personally.
Well, one of the things is and we talked about this in the meeting, Quantum, it indicated theater, sound, music venues, that sort of thing. There's also a lot of labor involved, that sort of thing. It seemed like we could work with Hendrickson and not even adding some things that Laddie and Derek would like to see would probably still keep the number down, even adding some new speakers or whatever. We're still not anywhere near spending, even $14,000.
Yes, we might want to tweak any one of these quotes to some degree after talking to these people, because there are many options, and some of them are not expensive, so.
And the other thing that I've heard from Derek and Laddie many times was that they wanted to get rid of all the cords and all that thing, and they would like to have more of a portable, what did you call it, a portable
Rack.
Cart.
cart,
Rack.
Jenny, I need to talk to you about that before going any further, but
Okay.
that would be the ultimate yes.
And then they would put something into the wall, and that would, in order to engage
Is that
all the
in this?
works.
Is that in this quote? Because I
No,
don't see that.
it is not. And so that
Okay.
was part of the discussion, because that seemed to be one of the major things I've heard about a lot.
Yes.
It also would involve much less setup time for
Right.
them, so if they had something that they wheeled in and out, if we can possibly go there, we'll see, but that's one of the things we were exploring. So this is just beginning stages, I'd say.
So you're thinking a rack to house the equipment, and then, I'm sorry, maybe I misstated. There was in some of the quotes an electrical box behind where
Yeah.
you're sitting. That's not in here, but could be.
No, let me
Or
answer
is it
that.
not a?
It's a wall plate, yeah.
Let me answer that. We're talking about two different things here.
Right.
The wall plate would be the nearest description of a way of getting signals from over there where the amplifier will be
Right.
to over here without running cables, and getting from here into the cable room
Yeah, I
without
understand.
running all the way around that way.
Right.
It would reduce the cables. It would simply be a feed-through type arrangement.
Right.
Yes, I think all the proposals did include that part.
Okay, because I didn't, maybe it's in here and I guess I just didn't see it.
Well, he may not have itemized it properly, but I talked to every single one of them about that. We may have to tweak these quotes to our needs and make sure they provide exactly what we want anyway, so this is only a starting point.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that, to me, it sounds like Quantum gave us everything.
The Cadillac,
And
yes.
Hendrickson gave us what we were asking for.
More or less.
More, so we're not comparing apples to apples at this point.
I don't know exactly what was
Instead of giving us our wish list, it's giving their wish list
Yeah.
for us to buy.
So,
I have one more question.
that's all right, you can
Is
ask the
there-
question, because my glasses fell apart. I think
Do you want me to try to fix them?
No, all right, I'll grab another pair out of the car.
For either, any of these quotes, is there also an annual monitoring or maintenance fee that goes, once the equipment's here,
No.
we're good to go, or is there an annual
No, there's no,
checkup?
They all offer a 3-year
there's a
warranty.
Oh, okay.
And there's also a manufacturer's warranty on most products, which would be in addition to anything that the installers would do. There is an annual fee to consider if we're using an iPad, which is, it costs, you have to get an iPad or an Apple account, which is a few dollars a month. It's not really that much to worry about, but it is something that was not itemized in here.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it also, from what I gather with, when you get an Apple account or whatever, that's free to use. I mean, only where there's monthly or yearly rates if you want to do storage upgrades, which we wouldn't need. For the one project, I believe that was Hendricks, I think. Yeah, Hendrickson. When you do buy that one mixer, that includes the connectivity for the iPad. I believe it comes with the iPad app, so you wouldn't have to necessarily, like, sometimes you have to buy like the software and either do like a lifetime subscription or like a yearly or a monthly. I believe that part of the software is built into the price of that equipment, from what I understand.
I think you're right. But that's the sort of thing we need to clarify.
Yep.
And what is the time frame on this? I mean,
I don't think we have a time frame. It's just some project to get done.
Yeah, reasonably soon this year.
it took a while for the quotes to come in.
would this come around at budget time then, when we do budget planning, if you're going to
No,
need
we
additional funds? I think we have,
Well, we
is it
put funds,
15,000 or
no, we have 13,000.
We have 13.
We're
Yeah.
good to go on that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to skip out for a pair of backup glasses. The wall outlet would require an electrician?
That's
Well,
another
I don't
question,
think
right?
so, because it's not so much electrical power. In fact, I don't think it would any.
Right, but I mean to run the wires to the box from wherever?
That should be part of the installation because
Quantum does all their own
their audio.
cabling.
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to clarify that
It needs to
aspect.
be clarified.
We should clarify that. You're absolutely
Okay.
right, yes.
The other
There
thing-
is no electrical, that is, there's no power being, or serious power like AC power being.
Yeah, no, I understand
messed
that.
with.
I just don't know with these walls, and however, if he's prepared to run them, that's fine, but we just need to clarify that.
One of the quotes actually said, if there's electrician
Right.
required, then it's going to be an
Yeah.
additional expense. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that we need to clarify, and I think the biggest thing is we had a long discussion about what was needed, right? And
Right.
Derek had an opinion, and Laddie had an opinion. So the committee kind of said, okay, well, I kind of did. So I circled some things on, and I said, okay, so this is really needed, and this is really needed, this is really needed. So we'll discuss that when we meet with him, and I think the committee will have a better idea then on what the scope really is and what's really needed, because we don't need theater sound.
Right.
Or, for a music venue, so, let's go with whatever provides us with the best update.
I would say, though, a couple things from my perspective. Can we add multiple mics? So could there be 4 mics in this room, and that would be supported by that system?
All these systems would allow for additional mics as needed, whatever we need. They could be wired, or they could be wireless like these if we needed more.
Okay.
We
The
would
other thing is, I think we should include, right out of the box, a couple of lapel mics.
lapel mics, okay. Well,
I
you
mean,
think
we
we
have
want,
situations where people come in to present that we know are going to present, and they're
yeah.
fiddling around with a microphone. We should give them that right up front so that when their
Do they
portion comes.
do lapel or they do like the head?
Well, I don't
Whichever,
care, whatever,
something portable like that.
something that works for them.
Dan,
so
there are
they're not-
several choices along those lines, but yes, we need something like that to offer to people, yes.
I've made
Yeah.
a note.
In any case, those are all wireless. For example, I have a kit here that allows you to have this kind of mic, or a lapel, or a headset, and it's the same
Yeah,
transmitter.
Makes no
same
difference to
receiver.
me, just something that gives someone that's coming in to do a presentation, they know that we can hear them, they're not having to
Yes.
fumble around, and so I would make sure we include that.
That's a relatively minor add-on, but all these systems would allow for additional microphones to be plugged in instead of having to strip a wire and solder it and wire them in.
Yeah, I mean, I think, buying a couple of additional mics and a couple of lapel mics to have them when we have an annual meeting or we have a crowd in here and not running around the room with a mic would be a good idea.
Well, I'd like clarification on the speakers too, because this first guy, feels like not, that they're fine, and then the other is like, no, they should be updated, so,
Yeah, I can-
What are on his, it says optional new EV speakers, what's that?
EV is Electro Voice, just a brand. I was saying we could reuse these speakers when I had them come in and look at the equipment, but if you think they could be improved, the sound could be improved by new speakers, we would consider that too.
But he only has two, so he thinks two is
Yeah,
enough for this whole
I'm not,
room?
we don't know why he did
We
that,
don't
and I
know
didn't
why.
ask him today, but he'll tell us when he's here. It may have been a mistake, or maybe he had some idea that I'm
Is he
not
coming to the town board or coming to the communications?
he's coming to the communications.
committee first, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll,
But you're welcome to join us, Mark.
Unfortunately, I have a job and I can't come at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
no.
We could arrange
exactly.
to, we could arrange to have you, no, you don't
1
want it.
o'clock Eastern time.
All right, any other comments?
You mentioned walls, so they're aware that the exterior walls are cement and some of the interior walls are also cement.
That shouldn't make any difference. For our purposes, everything we're doing here is interior. And by the way, there is a pipe underneath from up near
Yeah.
Amy to in the cable room,
Right.
which can be used for some of this wiring.
As well as there are some plates that are already
Yeah.
like that small plate just above
Oh, right.
Yeah.
the projector screen.
There are actually four.
They can always, and run things that way. They're-
There are 4 plates, and I think there are conduits behind it. Is that
Correct, yeah. I
Because
think it was, when this building was built, it was planned to do improvements in the future. So there was predetermined stuff that we were gonna.
Yeah, the guy that worked on that really knew what he was doing.
That would be you, Mr.
Yeah, that
Wolf?
would be me, yes.
Yes.
It's all right.
Well, I
Thank
think you've had some advice from me, Dan, because I suggested we have cameras.
I agree. I was just,
Whose back do we have to pat harder here?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
all right, give it to Laddie. I'll pass it. All right, anything else before we move on? All right, hearing none. Let's move on to road work.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks.
Thanks. I'm going to back up just for a minute to the road tour recap that's in your handout from DCHP. And this was Randy and I that went around and went through all of the different roads that we had identified as potential candidates for some form of repair. And I'll talk more to that, but I just want to, if you haven't read on page 2, roads needing further review and their recommendations. These were as a result of our input, which is, for example, Rock Ridge, take nothing, no action at this time. Replace a culvert here, replace a culvert there, just different actions that we did discuss, everything that was on the list. And so I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Tree trimming, some of that's going to go to the county, some of it's going to go to Acorn to resolve. The one intersection, or the one road, Brower, off a rip, that was just buried in cedars. Amy contacted that owner and told him that we were going to do some serious tree branch removal, and he's okay with that. So we'll schedule that in the fall. So I just wanted to talk to you about those couple of things. As far as the bids, which we received from Randy on last Wednesday, And now these bids, as you remember, we had him break them down into sections because we don't expect to spend all of our money on one road. You can go through the different bids. If someone has a question with respect to each section, please speak up. What I did just to make this process just a little easier was I took the roads that I thought would get us closest to our budget and still impact the areas that need replacement. And we don't have to follow these. I'm just putting them out there so that we have a discussion point. And the first one is West Whitefish Bay Road from Matthey to 42. And this is going up and down the hill past the flying tractor where the road is pretty well chopped up. So that came in at $155,000. And we all know East Dunn Road has been a problem, and we broke that into multiple sections. But in the first pass, I would recommend we go with East Dunn to Pond Road, and that's $170,000, and that would be pulverized. Now, the reason I would recommend that, if you go in and look at the individual sections of Dunn Road, and then you take a look at the culvert that needs to be patched and or the bridge, I shouldn't say bridge, but the concrete, what do I want to call it? The concrete culvert right by Pond Road. If we did that, if we did not go all the way to Pond Road, we'd pay another $9,000 to fix that as an interim fix. So it's his suggestion that we just go right to Pond Road. That cost will fall inside the overall bid. We don't have to spend an extra 10 grand basically to get it fixed. That moves us to around $326,000. And then we'd like to take a chunk off of Matthey, and the easiest one there is Matthey to Jarman, which would be another $68,000, putting us in at $395. Our budget's $400 or $400 a little over. And the last one is Harder Hill, and that's we were going up the road, and if you remember, the right side of the road had a huge swale in it. So the recommendation there would be to wedge that and then pave it. And that's $38,900. So that would bring us to roughly right $434. Now, Harder Hill, his recommendation is we go the whole route. We have some extra money, we could do that, or we could stop at the top of the hill, which would trim a few bucks out of it. So, depending on where you go. But that would bring us in at $434,000. And he's recommending pulverizing versus milling. Gives him more flexibility with the road and gives us a better surface. Now, those are just, all I simply did is compile them to try and get somewhere close to our plan. If you want to pick and choose a different one, I'm open to that. Feel free. In addition, before I conclude, in addition, there are 3 culverts that need to be replaced. North Brower is $18,000. Now, we have a budget for road repairs and maintenance, so this would fall under that category. Town Line, replace a 24 with a 36. This is right near Dale Wiegand's property. And there's a problem there because the farmer who farms the north side of that road manages to get all of the debris on his field, laying in the field, and then we have a rainstorm and it flushes into the gutter or into the culvert, and the culvert's blocked and it floods. So we're recommending, with Randy's input, a much larger culvert, which, by the way, when we do a 36-inch culvert, we fall into the category of cost sharing with the county culvert aid program. So these two estimates would be 50% less because of county aid.
Nice.
And then the last one here is a separate one, which he uncovered just before he gave us the bids for East Dunn, which is done between Weber and Pond. And originally he came in with a 42-inch culvert. We're going to drop that down to a 36. That'll make about a $3,000 to $4,000 decrease in that. So that should take it down to maybe $9,000 on that project and still provide good drainage. So in that situation, we'd be roughly right around, what, 9, 7, 16, 23, 24,000. So we would be well below our maintenance, and we still have some maintenance to deal with.
Hey, Dan, are we guaranteed that they're gonna do those with the aid? Can the
Yes.
county say we don't want to do that?
No,
Wait.
that's guaranteed.
Okay.
It takes them a long time to get it to us, but they do, it is guaranteed.
Okay.
So we had one of those a year or two ago.
Last year,
Was it
and we
last year?
received the payment this year.
Yeah, it only applies on culverts 36 inches or more, and some of those culverts are undersized. So, anyway, that's my take on it, and we can discuss how you might like to do it, and where to go. So,
Well, Harder Hill, just do the whole thing, because otherwise we got a section off and stuff like that. So it's not that big a deal to just do the whole thing.
I'm with you.
And how much did he say that would be extra
Yeah,
to
how
do the
much
whole
is it?
thing?
The whole thing is in the quote.
It's a
Is the
30, it's a
38.9?
39.
Oh, there
yeah,
is?
roughly.
Then I
Correct.
would say,
Yeah, it puts us over, but traditionally, the county's been a little high, so I'm kind of anticipating we're going to fall right in line. Can't guarantee that, but I think that's the case.
and then when I added up all of East Dunn from 57 all the way to Bechtel, I came up with 310,000 for the whole, that whole strip.
Okay?
Did you come up with a different number? Because some of these are sort of duplicates, right?
No,
What,
What he's-
57 to Weber is
what he's giving you
and
is,
different,
one
you know,
is pulverized
pulverizing
and one is milling.
milling. Right,
And that's
yeah,
the
I
reason you,
understand that.
yep, that's the
Yeah,
reason you have
but-
two different
Yeah,
prices.
but I came up with 310 for all of East Dunn, and if you did Harder Hill, let's just say 40,000, that's 350,000. We were way under budget last year, but
Correct.
we're already over budget in snow removal. That's all in the same category.
But we're not. There's 41,000 that is allocated to December 2022.
Oh, okay.
So we need to take that 41,000 out, and I believe right now it's 127,000. So we're roughly 20,000 short.
Okay.
So we still have 20,000 left in that budget.
Okay. Well, I don't think we should, I mean, just my spin, I don't think we should do all of East, or all of Dunn Road right away. I think we should try and spread it around to some of the roads that also need it.
West
And-
White, yeah, West Whitefish
West-
Bay
West-
definitely needs it.
Right, and we've passed on that a couple years,
Yep.
just trying to patch it. So I think that's a go, and then after that, I don't have a preference. So,
So West Whitefish Bay from 42 to Matthew, you were saying?
yes,
At 155.
correct.
And then, which part of East Dunn?
East Dunn, the pond, which would encompass the culverts and the bridge repair,
So from 57 all the way to Pond.
correct.
And that was a total of,
176.79.
and Harder Hill at, let's just say 40,000.
Correct, 38.9, that's pretty close.
And those were more 56. 12. Yeah, 362, I think that's what you said, right?
I came up with 434 because you didn't include Clark from
Oh.
Matthew to Jarman.
Okay,
So I came up with 434 if I'm correct.
just Matthew to Jarman, not
Correct.
42.
Yeah, that turns into be too big a chunk.
Okay.
And we can put that on carryover into the next section next year for both Dunn and Clark and try and get that. If the county comes in under, I would turn around and have them go out and do some crack filling on some of the roads that we've previously done. So,
So you had included that comment from Wisconsin Towns about monitoring new projects and following up with crack filling, their recommendation. So I think we should
I
keep
think
an
it's a
eye on
good one,
that.
yeah.
you know, Amy, is there some easy way for you to track the roads that we've done to try and catch this stuff year over year? The crack filling piece? Is there something in the,
Well, I could go back on the Whistler. I mean, the Whistler shows
and
us.
just manually create a list of roads?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could just look for number 10, because that would be a brand
Correct.
new road, and
Yeah.
that would
Right.
be easy enough to do.
Because all indications are, the state does this automatically after 3 roads. Everybody's pretty much saying the same thing. If we catch it early enough, then the water doesn't get in, we don't have the freeze-thaw cycles, and we can maybe save a road. So where are the rest of you with this? Mark, Jeannie, Derek, what do you want?
Sounds reasonable.
Yes.
My only question is Whitefish Bay Road
Okay.
from Matthew to Country View.
Oh, going east.
It's, all the cracks are filling with grass, so what are we gonna do? I mean, are we gonna spray Roundup this year?
There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not the person having to spray it, is what I understand.
That's good, Derek.
Well, I think, I hear you, I mean, there's obviously that road needs some work, but I think the worst section of that is going down the hill past the flying tractor, where we really have a choice of doing one or the other. I don't think we can do both and
No.
still attempt to make any progress on Dunn. And that's been a sore point to a number of people over the years. And by the way, on Dunn, from 57, that's just going to be paving the roadway. We are not doing any of that shoulder area.
Right.
Okay. So we're in agreement on what we're going to do?
Harder Hill to me seems like a waste personally, because there's like 2 residents on there, 1 residence on there.
4 or 5. But I think the problem there, Mark, is you got this swale on the right
I work
side.
there every other month.
So those people are calling in you every other month? You're wearing down the edge
No,
of the road?
they talk about other things that they see out their front windows.
All right. Other than that, we're going to move ahead. Anybody want to make a motion to do that? We'll just have it official.
All right, I'll move to approve the road work as discussed, and that would include West Whitefish Bay from 42 to Matthey, Clark Lake from Matthey to Jarman, and East Dunn all the way from 57 to Pond Road, Harder Hill, as estimate, or based on the estimates we received from Door County Highway Department.
That's from Whitefish Bay to, what is that, Windermere?
No, Bluff.
Harder Hill?
Harder Hill
It's
is
from
from
Bay Shore Heights to
Bayshore
West
Heights,
Whitefish
to West
Bay.
Whitefish Bay Road. Okay. Well, we have a motion by Linda, second by? Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Let's move on.
Do we need to do the culverts, or is that,
Culverts will go under our normal maintenance budget, so that won't be a problem.
we don't need a motion for that?
No.
Okay.
It'll just be like filling a pothole, which Derek gave me the list, which I think you have.
Yeah,
So that's
most
good.
of them are filled already, unless there's new ones that have popped up.
Yeah, well, this is good. Thanks for doing that.
Did you guys look at the one right at the end of Matthew? It's actually on Matthew, in front of Peter Selka's driveway. It's like a sinkhole. They filled the one that's right on the edge of Whitefish, on the T intersection. It's like a sinkhole. I think possibly the culvert might have a hole in it.
On Matthew?
Yeah, it's right at the end of his driveway.
You want to eyeball that?
Yeah.
That's a pretty fun one, because you're slowing down that stop sign, and you drop down right there. It's right in your right tires.
We had one of those on Jarman, or right near Clark Lake before, sinkhole. Okay. Yes.
The sign replacements, this is a go.
Yes. We're going to turn that back into Randy and let him run with that.
I've had some people ask me about replacing their E911, you know, the green road sign.
Yep.
But with the county anticipating to redo the entire county over the next couple of years, maybe you can address that, it would be kind of senseless, because they would have to pay for a replacement. You get the first one free, but a replacement they would have to pay for, right?
Correct.
So,
I've done the same thing. People have asked, and I said, I know it's on their plans to do it. I don't know if it's this year or next year. I know it's like $2 million, isn't it, for the whole county?
Yes.
So
I can.
you cover
add
that
to the
during your
comments,
piece?
yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right, we're going to spend a few minutes on our broadband status update and where we stand with bug tussle. And forgive me for reading what I have prepared because it's fairly complex and I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with this because it is a significant change from where we anticipated being just a few weeks ago. So as a backdrop for the benefit of the audience, we entered into an agreement to use Bug Tussle as our internet supplier. We did our due diligence and concluded it was the most cost-effective solution for the town. Our progress on moving the project forward was delayed at the request of Bug Tussle, who had multiple towns in Door County that were considering them as a potential ISP partner. There were potential economies of scale for our town, and as a result, we supported that delay. Over the course of the next 60 to 90 days, many of these municipalities either selected other vendors or were not far enough along in the process to make an ISP choice. During this same period of time, we continued to move forward with Bug Tussle, but incurred the following problems. First area we ran into were communication issues. Follow-up became close to non-existent on any questions that we might have had, whether they were written or verbal. I had to contact the company owner directly to obtain any feedback on any of our concerns or communications. Execution. Their company grew from 50 to 200 people in a year, and it's my opinion, and I think the committee's, that they just didn't have the infrastructure to support their rapid growth. Too many things slipped through the cracks. They had to withdraw from 5 PSC, Public Service Grant Awards, due to errors during the submission process. This means they were awarded the money and were able to go after the project and had to go back and say, keep the money, we made an error, not good. We had a grant application that was in during this time frame. Our grant application was denied, although Bug Tussle said it was not a result or had anything to do with these grant withdrawals. It is our impression that the grant errors impacted our potential PSC award. Cost disparity, probably the most significant. Their vice president, who responded to our RFP, adjusted the RFP price based on reduced residences versus vacant land. He copied in the other executives who apparently never read or were made aware of the revised cost structure. This cost delta was over $2 million, and obviously not acceptable. In follow-up meetings with company executives, it became clear that they were unaware of this lower cost RFP and indicated that this executive was released a few days after he updated our RFP. Financing. After repeated conversations and Bug Tussle assurances that the bonding options presented to us were feasible, we reached the conclusion that the model proposed was not financially possible with town governments versus county governments. This was the vehicle we used for repayment of the loan guarantees. Frankly, our last conference call with them was a disaster. They never followed through with the recommendations of the committee to look at alternative methods to adjust the cost within the RFP guidelines. They never contacted any of the parties that we suggested they partner with, such as Sturgeon Bay Utilities, Wisconsin Public Service, Wisconsin Electric, or AT&T, as viable partners that could reduce the cost of buried cable. The end result is we terminated our partnership and we will reissue the RFP. The single greatest challenge will be how the project is financed and what it will cost. If we proceed, it will be financed totally through tax levy without reimbursement by any ISP, at least as we know it today. We expect to send out the revised and updated RFP next week and look forward to a response, I believe, in August, roughly, right? July. July 28th, I'm sorry, I'm a month ahead of myself. I probably know a lot more. I can't necessarily summarize it all, but if someone has a question, I'll be happy to take a stab at it, and/or Jeannie, who is part of this process. Obviously, we are tremendously disappointed in what happened with this. We really felt we had a good choice, made sense. We had a public meeting or public hearing with people sharing a recommendation, which took a long time to develop all of this work. And so we're sorry for everyone, because I know it impacts the availability of broadband for a lot in our community, but we're going to go back at it and try and resolve this with a vendor that will move ahead. So, any questions from the board? And then if anyone has some in the audience.
So a couple municipalities out there are in the process of laying their fiber optic or trenching or opening RFPs with a couple different vendors. Would it be wise or to our benefit to wait and see how those municipalities, is there cooperation among the vendor and, what those RFPs say, and can we relate to that? Like I said, could it be to our benefit to just kind of hold off?
Let me address that if I could. So, and I had made some notes, there's a number of communities that appear to be moving forward. Bailey's Harbor was really kind of the first one to set out, and that was in '21. And they partnered with Ensight, and they were awarded a grant in June of '22. As of now, there has been no fiber strung or buried. The grant was a year ago in June, so.
I know they're working on, because I was at a meeting this morning and the trenchers were all along the ditches.
They might be trenching something, but according to what I've been told, they have the project that goes to Bjorklanden.
Yeah, I can address that trenching. Most of the trenching that went past the town hall up through Jacksonport into Bailey's Harbor, that's all infrastructure for Bertram to basically support their infrastructure for Door County broadband.
Yeah. So.
That's all middle mile.
They're having, Bailey's Harbor's having a real problem with make-ready costs, because, their intention was to string a lot of fiber, not bury it. And Claybanks has verbally chosen Bertram. They had a meeting this Friday. I don't know what's happened. Nassawappi has verbally agreed to go with Bertram. As far as I know, nothing, I don't know where that is right now. Bug F, which is the Brussels, Union, Gardner, Forestville, they issued their RFP with, I think, the hopes of a decision in September. Jacksonport actually is probably the most progressed now of any. I just spoke to the chairman of that committee, Rob Edmondson, and they're going with Frontier, of course, we know that. And they were awarded a grant in this last cycle of $500,000. They actually don't officially have a contract signed with Frontier, because there's a few things that needed to be tweaked or whatever, so he anticipates that that's going to happen within the first couple of weeks, or next couple of weeks. So actually, other than the island, and that's an electric co-op, they're the ones that have made an extreme amount of progress. But other than that, town of Sturgeon Bay, I haven't spoken with anyone there, but Hugh probably has a general idea what's going on there.
Yeah, they're evaluating two ISPs. Bertram is one of them. Hometown Fiber out of Minnesota is another one.
Yeah. So, I think the approach that we should take is we get right back at this. We had bids before from others that, we chose Bug Tussle for a number of reasons besides the price. But I think that we have a good opportunity now that, Bertram has moved forward on their own to bury a lot of fiber. So, we're certainly going to reach out to them and probably AT&T and a number of others that we did before. And and the time frame that, we're meeting as a committee on Wednesday, so we will look at the RFP that Hugh has been so kind to tweak, and look at the time frame that we have, we think will work for them to get back to us, and then for the corresponding back and forth that we do in their questions, and then we respond to the questions. There's all a time frame of that. We are well versed in that now. So I think that we can make this process move along. And my goal is of course, for this community have high-speed, reliable internet. And I will do my very best, along with the committee, to do that, to put a plan in front of this board that we can say yes to. So, so we begin our work again on Wednesday.
Any questions from the board? Anyone from the audience? Derek, did you have some comment? I asked you to hold for a second.
You answered it, basically, it was in response to why who's all trenching for the fiber, it basically was working.
Okay. They did find some rock up by Bailey's Harbor. I don't know where that came from, but it appeared out of the ground. All right. We're done with that. We're going to move on to the short-term rental discussion. And in your packet, you have quite a bit of correspondence between Amy Flock, our attorneys, between Mr. and Mrs. Fortner, who are here this evening, with respect to their licensing for their short-term rental. What I have in here for your benefit is so that you become knowledgeable about this. We're not here this evening to discuss the ins and outs of where they stand, except to share with you that they have violated our ordinance for almost 2 years, or over 18 months or so, roughly right. And we are going to schedule, if you agree, we are going to schedule a hearing at a later date in June. And Amy, was it the 28th that we?
29th.
Pardon me?
29th.
29th, sorry, okay. We're going to schedule a hearing for June 29th, at which time to discuss all of the detail that's in these documents and to make a decision as to how we are going to proceed. The options, of course, would be denial of any future permits that they might request, or a monetary fine and/or a denial of future permits. It's open to us at the hearing to decide what direction we want to proceed with this. I scheduled it for June 28th because we had to meet the deadline for 15 days for a public hearing.
29th.
29th, I'm sorry. I wrote it down, I still say the 28th. So we can schedule that tonight. I did that in the event that the Fortners decide that based on whatever action we take, they desire to re-pursue a license. If that's an option available to them, they would have a day or two to do that, to get it accomplished, so they are grandfathered in under the current ordinance. All right? So really the function this evening is to set a date, other than what I have on the books, of June 29th at a time for a public hearing, at which time we'll discuss all the nuances of the information you have in your hands this evening.
Point of order, our last name is Porter.
Porter, sorry. Must be these alternate glasses. All right. 29th at 6 p.m. Pardon me? 6
6
p.m.
p.m.
All right. Okay. If you're available that evening, you're welcome to participate.
We thought that we were gonna be able to discuss that tonight, which was why we came here from out of the country. And when we made travel arrangements prior to having the date, because we were led to believe that we'd be able to address this tonight.
Well, we don't want to have a public hearing on it. I will give you a couple minutes to just very quickly summarize your position, and we will not have a back and forth on it,
That's fine. Do you want us to sit at the microphone or just,
whatever.
can you hear me okay?
Could you hand me the mic?
Can you bring the microphone over to you? I can move up to the,
Fine.
whatever you prefer. If that's easier.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I appreciate that because we are working in Canada for a few years. Not my plan, but that's the way the life takes you. So I just wanted to say a few things. Really, appreciate the communication from Amy. For my wife and I think fundamentally for the board, we had no intention to violate the ordinance. And we've been away for a few years in Canada. It's been 4.5 years. I've got a 4-year anniversary in my company just a few days ago. So when this started, we were not getting mail. So the mail I know there were letters sent to the house about hearings and questions and the ordinance. We did not receive it. So there was a gap in communication. And part of that's our fault, to be honestly. We had, over the years, we didn't receive any mail at the house that was really needed. And so initially when we moved to Canada, we forwarded our mail, but then we stopped after 6 months. So there's a bit of a gap on our end. And so by the time we caught up with this, obviously things had changed and the ordinance was approved. Things had been in play for a while. So it was a bit of a catch-up for us. Also, Lundquist was our property manager, and we rented the house, I think, for 4 seasons maybe. And Lundquist, when we first started renting, they guided us through the process to get a license, water testing, and so forth. And we assumed that they would keep records, and if there's something we needed for that season or for the next year, they would notify us. I guess that's my mistake. They didn't do any of that. So they listed the property and took a handsome commission. And just to be brief, on our end, we've discontinued our rental operations. It's not beneficial to us as owners, quite frankly. It benefits the community more than it does us. And if you sit down and do the math, our only intent was ever just to help maintain the property. It's our home, and we're working away for a while. We just wanted it to be lived in and maintained. That was all. So we've stopped rental operations. Lundquist has ejected us from their website and the business, and we are owner occupied going forward. So since we're working away, the house will generally be empty, other than when we're here for vacations or long weekends, that kind of thing. So my request is, we're not going to apply for a permit to rent. We're going to leave the house empty going forward and just maintain it ourselves. And so my request is, if we can, we would accept a denial of the ability to rent in lieu of a fine, if that's acceptable to the board. But like I said, we had no intent to violate ordinances. That was not our wish or desire to kind of circumvent any rules.
Okay,
All right.
good enough. Thank you much. We'll have the hearing on the 29th at 6,
6.
and correspond with you the following day, wherever you might be. Amy has your phone number?
I have your phone number and email, yep.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, appreciate that. All right. Moving on to nuisance properties, authorizing the town clerk to issue cease and desist letters. This came up as a result of some communication with the town attorney in terms of one of the nuisance properties that we identified during the road tour, which has been an ongoing issue in the town and with the county. And in the discussion, if you read our ordinance, and I gave you a copy of the ordinance on page 3, highlighted, abatement by court action. It says the town, line 33, the town board may at its discretion direct the town clerk to take one or more of the following actions. Number one is a written order of cease and desist, the public nuisance. Number two, cause to be issued and served a citation in violation of the ordinance using a 30-day window. Three, have the town attorney draft a formal complaint. We've done that with one of the properties already. Or four, another one, draft a served formal complaint of the public nuisance using Wisconsin statutes 823. So Amy Sullivan wants us to make sure that we authorize that at a town board meeting so that Amy can be directed to do that, as well as issue citations. And the citations, our ability to issue the citations was something that came about 4 or 5 years ago when Randy Nesbitt was our attorney. And we actually have a citation book, I believe. Maybe needs to be updated, but nonetheless, you have one.
We do.
So we'll unfortunately end up putting that to use, I believe. So that's really the gist of what we're here to discuss this evening. Anyone have any questions relative to that? Otherwise, a motion to give her the ability to execute the abatement by court action. That paragraph would be what we're after.
Did anybody object?
Pardon me?
Did you say, does anybody object?
No, I did not say that.
Okay, thought you might have said that.
No.
So these will be properties identified
By us.
by us.
Properties that we may have visited on the road tour, or properties that have been perennial problems, i.e. the Brandt property, the Rushi property are two of them that we are well familiar with.
Years.
Years. So we would take the appropriate action with those and any others that we deem need to be addressed. And this would give her the ability to do that. We may still use the attorney as the first step, depending on the level. Obviously, Brandt will fall into that category. So.
And that way, I would keep Amy out of the loop and, you know.
Well, she'll be involved in it.
Right. The correspondence would be coming from our attorney, so that,
Not all.
oh, not all?
No.
Okay.
No, the initial 30-day window would come from the town
Okay.
clerk.
All right.
And then if we decided to raise that beyond that, typically they would have a 30-day window to respond, and then you would take the appropriate action either through a citation or we'd engage the attorney, depending what's up. In the case of a couple of them, we already know that no matter what action we take as a town board, nothing's going to happen, so the attorney's going to pursue that directly for us, and so we won't put her in the position of spinning her wheels, so. Questions from anyone? Otherwise, a motion to enable this would be the next move.
Well, we do have the ordinance, so that is, well,
Yep.
I agree. And the motion is, or was, or will be. And we'll make a motion, we don't do anything.
I'm trying to get the words.
yeah,
Go ahead,
all right.
Linda.
Read.
I guess I'll make a motion that we proceed in accordance with our ordinance number 022011 on the regulation of outdoor storage on sightly premises and hazards, and just follow the course that is outlined in that ordinance on properties as identified.
Okay, we have a
Does
motion.
that sound about right?
Yep, sounds good.
Do we have to add something about having the town
Yeah,
authorize
let's
Authorize
add
the,
authorizing the town clerk
to
to
issue those?
issue a cease and desist order.
so I'll make a
Agreeable to
second
you?
with that, authorizing the town clerk to issue the cease and desist letters.
Okay, we have a motion by Linda, second by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Introduction of resolution number 2023-02, a resolution approving the discontinuance of East Martin Road in the town pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute, section 66.1003. This one's a little different. As you know, East Martin Road is a gravel rock road that runs between two orchards owned by Jim Sequist. The road is literally unpassable. We have taken numerous attempts at grading it, but the gravel disappears. The rock base, the limestone base is right at the surface. So we are proposing that we vacate that property, return the property to Jim Sequist. It'll become a private road. As an initial step to this action, we paved Choice Lane last year, so that people who had been using Choice Lane, which was gravel, it's now paved. So we've had no concerns from anyone with respect to that. It's solved their shortcut needs. And the introduction of this resolution is the first step in the process. It's not passing the resolution, but it's the introduction of the resolution that we will implement 40 days out or more from now. And the steps that we have to take are the notification of the owner, obviously, that's Jim, that Sequist, that we're abandoning this, and I've talked to him on a couple of different occasions, as well as his, one of his staff. We will publish this in the paper 3 times, and we will have a very brief hearing before the next meeting once we meet the 40-day window. So we'll have like a 15-minute hearing. I don't anticipate
We can
anyone.
have it at the next, if the next board meeting meets the requirements of the 40 days, we can have it at the next board meeting.
Okay, so that will work.
Yep.
So at the next board meeting, we would approve this, have a brief 10, 15-minute hearing. I don't believe Mr. Sequist will attend, and that will put this into action. The land will be put back in his name, and we've worked with the county to make this happen, as well as Amy Sullivan. So there's really no action to take tonight other than an FYI, and see you next month.
We do need just a motion to continue with the process.
Oh, okay. So we need a motion to continue with the process. You should know that.
Right.
You've abandoned a lot of roads.
Well, a few, not a lot.
That's true. All right. Motion to continue the process will be made by,
I'll make them,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
I'll make the motion to continue the process of introduction of the resolution 2023-02.
perfect.
Second.
Motion by Mark, second by Derek for the resolution 2023-2, discontinuance of East Martin Road. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, see you next month. Thank you. All right. So, looking at our financial reports, which you all have a copy of, you have the account balances, budget versus actual, and the transaction by date reports as part of your packet. Amy, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
The town has paid its third quarter fire dues to the city of Sturgeon Bay, and the second half of taxes are due by July 31st. That's it.
Okay. Anyone have any questions of Amy with respect to the financial reports? Hearing none, a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report
And financials.
and financials.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Motion by Mark, second by,
I'll second.
second by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, done. Approvals of vouchers, bills, and claims. Everybody had a chance to sign those? If there are no questions,
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims for May 16th through June 19th.
motion by Derek to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims, second by Linda. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. committee, commission reports. You have in your packet the communications technology meeting from January 26th. That seems a long time ago, doesn't it? All right, that's the only one that's in there, so everybody gets a chance to read that. It's very brief, to the point, and a motion to approve. Put them on file.
I'll move to accept the minutes and place on file.
Motion by Linda, second by Mark, to approve the communications technology minutes from January 26th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, done. Anyone have any oral committee reports that they would like to make?
I did attend the annual meeting of the Door County Tourism Zone Commission, which was last Thursday. At year end for 2022, period of 2007 to 2022, the tourism zone has collected $71.9 million in room tax, distributed $47.9 million to Destination Door County, and $21.5 million to member municipalities. Occupancy is down from 2021 in this first quarter or so. It seemed to be the consensus that there's becoming a saturation of cottages and homes on the rental market. As of June 6, 23, there's 21 permits were issued since the last administrative report. Currently, there are 1,485 permits. There were 1,387 in 2022 at this time.
How many were
Cycle
there?
year.
I'm sorry, 1322 versus?
1387 in 2022 at this time.
Okay.
1485
No.
as of the 6th.
Okay, thank you.
And then Destination Door County did a presentation there as well. Talked about the Community Investment Fund, which the next cycle is July 6th, and that'll be every 3-month type cycle. And they also mentioned that they did some marketing piece in the Pulse, the last Pulse. I don't think this past Friday's Pulse, this Friday before, being that this was the Thursday meeting. And they have also sent a 2-page newsletter to all municipalities with the goal to do that twice a year, and they'd appreciate any feedback.
And they sent, was it there, did they send out that survey? I filled out a survey for somebody at Destination, I think it was Destination Door County.
Yes.
It was in connection to,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jeannie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Destination Sturgeon Bay, I attended their board meeting, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And again, requested that we get some exposure with regard to the dairy breakfast and the threshery.
And the results are?
Let's see.
Overwhelming or
We're promised
underwhelming?
a podcast. It is on their website, but the link takes you to the Jacksonport Business Association.
Great.
Really?
Really.
After all
Right
we said
underneath
about
the Cape
Jackson.
Point, right underneath Cape Point Park, along into the Jacksonport
Well,
town?
it's listed under upcoming events, at least the dairy breakfast is, and the link there takes you to Jackson.
We should send them a map. Well,
And is it time to think about our own business association? I know we brought this up several years ago. I think there are a few people in our town that might be interested in helping us getting that going. And the thing is, okay, it's supposed to be tourist related, but, okay, Jacksonport Business Association, Sister Bay Advancement Association, all of their funds do not go toward tourist-related activities that I know of.
well, your note to me, you had indicated that nowhere had you found anything saying we had a 3-year commitment.
I'm not an attorney, but from reading it, it doesn't say a 3-year commitment or contract. Years ago, I think it did say, effective 2008-2011, but I did not find anything
I
that,
agree with her.
That was the contract, the paperwork that I signed last September, October?
But it doesn't say anything about us being in it for 3 years. It doesn't, it's not ironclad.
Actually, it says no changes will be made until 2023. I believe I saw.
I can take a look at the paperwork again, but everything I looked at,
Pull it and send it off to Amy Sullivan.
Okay.
Let's let her ask for her opinion on it. This is rather frustrating that they continue to move forward. I was gonna say that they were supposed to be back every 3 months to share with us the momentum they have established in the town. And unless I'm mistaken, October, November, December, January, February, they're well past their 3-month window.
Well,
We were assured, or I was assured of that at the meeting as well, that they would be making quarterly reports.
Amy, I know you chatted with me about this. Let's make a point of putting that back on the agenda next month, if nothing else. And also, I'd like to have, as long as I'm on a roll here, I'd like to have EMS. I'd like to have
Ashley.
Ashley come back with your input and give us an update on where they stand with that, since that was another commitment that we haven't heard anything follow up on. So, and then by next month, we'll know an answer to your question, Linda, and where we could possibly track with this. And if there's somebody in the business community out there watching this and they have an interest in starting an advancement association in our town,
I
please
see
step
a
forward
hand
and let
raised.
us know.
I see a hand raised.
Yes?
I would, but everyone need help.
I would think so.
Well, look to your right.
Well, I mean, that would be, Gary, that'd be an interesting thing to pursue. I mean, the real thing is to try and gather business people in the community that would support it. I mean, you won't have an issue with us in terms of forming it. We tried to do this, God, 7, 8 years ago, sent a letter to every business in the community and got 0 response. Now, back then, just as a footnote, we had $20,000 in marketing funds available. Now that's $75,000 to $80,000. So that may change the perspective of somebody in terms of what they think they could do to drive business development in our community. So,
And we can split it up. It doesn't have to all go to one entity.
Right.
We can split it up.
right, that's true too. So, yeah, if you're interested, feel free to take some best shots and we'll help you along. Okay. And they don't all have to have farms. Okay, it's a nit, but you don't have to. Okay, good enough. We'll come back at this stuff next month. So which brings us to the county board report. District 14 Supervisor, Mr. Zettel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, County Board, our Town Board Supervisors and Madam Clerk for taking some time to share with you the goings-on at the County Board. This summary was graciously sent out by Amy to you in your packets relative to what went on in last month's County Board meeting. I'm going to just highlight a few things. Number one is there's going to be an effort to look at groundwater sampling protocol and a new screening contract that was signed. This is beyond the normal kind of well sampling that's been going on with UW-Oshkosh. This is now looking at potential emerging contaminants such as pharmaceuticals, forever chemicals, and it's going to be over a period of a number of years with a firm called GZA Geoenvironmental. And it's the source of the funding for that is county ARPA dollars. Other items of note is the county board passed the ambulance services agreement for interfacility transports with Door County Medical Center. This basically helps, basically funds the county to staff 4 EMTs, paramedic, and also a billing person, and basically the county will, and a rig, and its primary role, the primary role, because with the county's primary services to do 911 is to do 911 services with that rig, but they will also be doing interfacility transports. And as part of that process, the county will be made whole on all those costs plus the county will be made whole on any cost differential for any transports where the county is not fully reimbursed. So there basically is zero net impact to taxpayers in this process. So they're in the process of staffing up for those roles right now. In addition to that, they're on the ordinance side, I think I reported there was some effort to basically remove any references in ordinances relative to radio towers, communication towers, where the county had its own ordinance. We're basically striking those, and that was approved in this past month's meeting, since we're basically going to just revert to the state. The state has prodigious regulations in this space. Plus, there's been a lot of changes when you think of 5G, fixed wireless, all those sorts of things. The county could just never keep up with those ordinances when they first established them in the late 90s. So we're basically going to revert back to have folks follow the state regs. What I'd like to talk about next is last week's highway and facilities meeting. And Laddie, if you could put the map up, please. We had a discussion on Gordon Road and Highway 4257. It's almost, it'll be 12 months next July, where I first presented this relative to, try to work some solution and gathering some data, starting with the Highway Safety Committee meeting. Tad Ash basically brought back a proposal. And on that first slide there, you can see they would do a couple things. One is they would have a right turn only from Gordon Road to go southbound, eliminating the ability to do a left turn lane. As part of that, the state required the county to put an acceleration lane on the southbound lane. So that strip, going on the southbound there, that was a requirement the state put on the county late last year. And part of that increase the amount for that work. Tad also noted that because of rerouting traffic and eliminating the right-hand turn, there is some work that needs to be done at the intersection of Gordon Road and Old Highway Road to make it easier for trucks to turn. So that's that little red marker there. If you go to the next slide, please, Laddie. The other work that needs to be done, this is Egg Harbor Road. So the turning onto Egg Harbor, onto Old Highway Road from Egg Harbor, that intersection there needs some work, both for the right turn as you're going westbound on Egg Harbor Road, and also on the right-hand side for the shoulder for people to drive, for people trying to turn left. If you drive that shoulder today, if you have a four-wheel drive, you got to make sure you have it in four-wheel drive so you can get out of some of the potholes on that shoulder. So they're going to redo that shoulder as well, widen it, repave it, and as part of that, the county had approved last year for the initial project when we first talked about it in July, $100,000. So there's a resolution on the books for that $100,000, but to do the acceleration lane as well as to do the other work on those shoulders there, it requires another $152,000. So unanimous vote out of the Highway Committee was to take that to Finance with a recommendation to provide the extra $152,000 in funding. Finance Committee meets tomorrow, and I know we have a great stakeholder from on the county board from the west side of Sevastopol that's on the Finance Committee, so I know Supervisor Vogel will take good care of us there. And with the anticipation that it will be on the agenda for the June county board meeting, which would be in a week and a half. So according to Tad, the state does not allow counties to do work within the state right-of-way between July 1st and Labor Day. So we can't do the right turn lane, but he can do all this other approach work. And I think Tad's intent, since he's been very persistent to try to fix this problem, is to try to get that work done ahead of time. And then once Labor Day rolls around, work on the right turn only work, as well as the signage, et cetera. So the total cost will be about $252,000. Probably the part that's going to be have to be reworked is obviously when they do get the roundabout, installed, which is somewhere between 4 to 6 years from now. So that's, 2027 best case, 2029 probably likely, even though they want to go faster. DOT and going faster is, I don't think you can put that in a typical sentence formation. So I think this is a wise investment to help save lives and as well as reduce accidents at that intersection. So, I think some good news there, and we'll have some more probably coming out of the county board meeting in a week and a half. Relative to the question that was raised earlier about E911, as you know, I'm a representative on the Resource Planning Committee, of which this is, the addressing is part of that. We reviewed the updated E911 address manual. That's the precursor for putting out the final, or the RFP to get a bid on the project. So they've been working with a consultant to get that updated. Update the numbering schema, how signs will be placed. They are likely going to go with signs colored blue, perpendicular to the road, except for in, I'll call it the urban areas. They have a different term, and I don't know what it is. I apologize. But basically, downtown Fish Creek, downtown Bailey's Harbor, where you can't put a sign perpendicular to the road, they will basically be, parallel to the road as they are today. So we're in the process of getting comments on that handbook with the various EMS, fire, and sheriff's stakeholders to see if there's any other comments. They're one of the primary movers to try to get these addresses updated and improve the signage. So we expect to have that to go to the county board for their approval in July. There was a goal to try to get one of the municipalities as a pilot to be done in the Southern Door area to see how things would work out. But since we're going to wait to get some feedback from the EMS safety community, it's up in the air whether or not they'll be able to get a pilot done yet this year. But there will be full implementation starting in 2024. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you have.
Anyone on the board have a question?
You did the text amendments, that included solar farms too, correct?
Yes.
Good.
All utilities, yeah.
Or solar parks, I guess.
The acceleration lane is using the state's right of way, so it doesn't present a problem in front of the gas station?
My understanding that's all within the state right of way.
So,
To get the permit to do that, yes.
And the two intersection improvements on Old Highway are going to be on the county's dime as their...
Yes, that's all part of that additional $152,000.
And when I first read that, I wondered whether they were going to come calling or not, and I thought, well, one never knows.
They're still Shower Road, right?
Okay, great.
So anyway, yeah.
Hugh, do we know any kind of timeline from the Door County Child Development Center on their grand opening in relation to the construction projects?
No, I do not know what the timeframe is for that. I recall from the ribbon cutting, I thought it was in the fall of this year.
Last fall. So are we gonna, is that organization gonna be opening at the same time we're gonna be falling right into a?
That's a great question, Derek, and I will follow up with Tad on that from a timing perspective. Yes, thank you.
Those days will be recess days, Derek. There'll be no kids there for the 3 days. But good catch. Could be their first day in open and they can't get anybody in there, so.
I'd hate to see, more traffic on a terrible intersection now that's being reconstructed. This recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, moving on. You have a copy of the Door County inspections for the month. And you also have, and we will take action this evening on renewing the alcohol and beverage license. We have 11 of those people. And all have met all of their obligations to get their licenses renewed.
They have.
What a change from when Linda was the treasurer. That's all I can say. It was nip and tuck every time. Special meetings. All right.
I had a soft heart back then.
I don't.
So, is there anything we need to do other than to approve these, Amy?
All you have to do is approve.
All right. Given that all we need to do is approve these alcohol and beverage licenses for these wonderful establishments, a motion would be in order.
I'll move to approve the alcohol beverage license renewal applications as presented for the period July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024.
We have a motion on the floor from Linda,
Second?
second by Jeannie. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? These people are in business. You can stop there tonight. Okay, good to go. Correspondence. Oh, this is the once-a-year application for the Door Century 100. You've got it in your packet, and the map that they are going to use, the route for that event. They've done this numerous times. Notice of timber cutting with Algoma lumber. The March 2023 entries for short-term rentals for the month of May. And June in there as well. And the City of Sturgeon Bay Fire Department's monthly report. And just as an FYI, I've requested 2 or 3 weeks ago to meet with the Sturgeon Bay City Administrator, Josh, to discuss this renewal. Our contract is up in December. All I got back is a note that they'll circle back to me. I have not heard anything yet. And the fire chief is aware of it, so we'll see where that transpires. Just as an FYI, in this coming week's edition of the Door County Pulse, there will be an article on the town's tennis, pickleball, and basketball courts with some stuff that they contacted us, and it's going to be in Thursday's paper. Also, just as a reminder, the pickleball courts, there's a pickleball clinic being held there Saturday morning and Sunday morning. So there's a sign posted over there to use other courts if possible, so it doesn't interfere. And I guess the parking lots will be jammed because there's something rented here Saturday and Sunday, and the park is also hosting some events, right? I think the park is, right?
Right here's baseball tournament.
Okay. I have a note here, if my calendar's right, that says tomorrow's the anniversary of our town clerk treasurer.
7 years.
7 blissful years. Well, congratulations. It seemed like it was 30. No,
Don't take it away from me.
We're glad we have you, so thanks for.
Thank you.
Yes, we are.
Thanks for staying with us. Okay, announcements. The Board of Review is Tuesday, June 27th from 1 to 3. If you're interested in attending, there is a form you need to identify that you're going to attend and fill it out prior to that. We will have a public hearing for Ranaground on Thursday, June 29th at 6 p.m. The FFA Dairy Breakfast is Sunday, July 2nd. This will be on the Threshery grounds on Country View Road. It goes from 6 a.m. to 11:30. And I think they'll have their usual assortment of miscellaneous things operating all over the Threshery. They all seem to have some stuff there. Our next meeting will be July 17th at 7 p.m. And that's all of the announcements for tonight. Does anyone have anything else? Otherwise, it'll be Derek's favorite part of the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Pardon me?
Motion to adjourn?
Did I hear that?
Second.
Motion to adjourn. Motion by Derek, second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.